folks, if you want a printed version, just let Holly know, and they can be printed up, and you can arrange with her a pickup time and day, and you can annotate them as you will, and bring them to the meeting with fancy highlighter marks and everything. Up to yourself on how you want to handle it. Okay, with that said, old business of October 14th. First up is 22 Coffin Street. Elizabeth, good evening. Good afternoon. Hopefully we won't even make it to evening. Oh, by the way, before you start, I got to share this with the group. I have nothing but free time, as you all may know. And I happened to be flipping through, and I landed on a regional Massachusetts Cape Area Historic District Commission. And I was curious, and the chair began the meeting with, I just want everyone to know we have a very heavy agenda tonight, so I want to be very careful. There were 8 items. There were, excuse me, 8 items on the agenda. I think 7 of them were old business. God bless them, and God bless us for the work we do. Okay, with that said, a little levity in our workload in comparison factor. 22 Coffin Shed, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Oh, I thought the,
You don't want to do the driveway first, because the shed actually.
Well, the shed is on the agenda first, so
Yes.
if someone would like to take up the driveway, I'm happy to do so. Is that what you'd like to do?
So my only question would be that it is an alternative to the driveway, so if we okay the shed, then
Sounds
we
good.
don't.
Elizabeth, we're going to shift gears and we're going to go for the driveway.
Sure.
We're living in the fast lane, or the fast driveway lane anyways. Fiona, you good with that?
I brought pictures of driveways in the area, which I handed out. You guys can share.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Val. Ready when you are.
Okay. Elizabeth Churchill, thank you. Good evening. This was asked for reviewing last time we were here, and I think the point I tried to make on the design you have before you is that this owner is going to be a year-round resident and would like to be able to pull in, turn around, and pull out so that he's facing traffic. It's a very dangerous corner, especially cars coming from West Sankaty, taking a right onto Coffin. They sort of stop, most of them don't, and then come down that hill pretty quickly. So that's his intention. And as you can see, there's a hedge on both sides, so it's going to be very hard to see either where the car is parked on the left, which is the east side, or the right, which is probably the backup. And he has told me that how he's going to use this is he's going to pull in, go right, go to the west, and then back into the parking space, which is on the east, and that's where his car will be. So that's what we're asking for.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. Your board is myself, Abby, Angus, Val, and Connie. And who has concern
I have a comment.
or a comment?
I went out there today, and in the event that people didn't get to go out there and look around, I took some photos of driveways in the area, and, you know, right across the street, 9 Coffin Street has the same exact scenario. That house is a bit farther off the street, but it has the 2 opposing spaces, and knowing this house and knowing what this man contends with coming whipping around that corner, I think it's a matter of safety. And if he says he's not going to park in that spot, it's simply so he can turn around and go out front ways. I have absolutely no issue with this. It seems it's prevalent in the area as well. That's my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I could go ahead. Yeah, I agreed with Holly's comment. Elizabeth, I don't know if you got to review Holly's comments about the driveway and the shed location.
No, I didn't.
But basically, the guidelines are pretty clear about not having driveway or parking or shed in front of the structure. And there are too many examples, as Val has done a good job of pointing out, of newer structures, well, I think pretty much except for King Street and maybe 33 West Sankaty, that this really isn't, what we would rather see, especially if we're redoing. Sorry?
You referred to
Oh.
New Street and
Oh, just the.
Guys, no crosstalk, please, through the chair.
Through the chair. Basically, what we're trying to avoid is a situation like this with the parking in front of the house or a shed in front of the house. And so if there's an alteration from what's existing, we would want it to get more in tune with the guidelines than further away from them. So in this case, the parking, the safety was brought up, which is really not the HDC concern, but since it was brought up, this is a situation where you want to back into the driveway instead of pulling in and then backing out onto the road. That's the most dangerous way to do it. But also the safety thing is to have the driveway as far away from the corner as you can. And in this picture here, you can see that there's a flat area to the left that would facilitate parking and/or turnaround. And so that's the direction that I'd rather see it go than in front of the house to the right. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray? Oh, that's right. Connie?
Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
I think it would be more appropriate to, and more safe, if they removed those two bollards and graded the road and kept the driveway as far in as possible from West Sankaty, and maybe have a smaller turnaround where you show a car and have it on the left-hand side of the house as you're looking at the house, instead of having it be the whole width of the house, which, as Angus pointed out, it's not in the guidelines. So I would rather see it moved down the street and use that left-hand side. That's why I was worried about the shed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that leaves me. Maybe not the site plan just for a quick second. There's one thing.
This is existing.
And then the proposed.
Existing. Like that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I went, did a view, and I think it's, it's not, I'm not thrilled with it, but it's approvable. Elizabeth, is there any appetite, the turnaround portion, just to have that be, a smattering of Belgian block at the apron in the grass, so that it is a surface, but it's a grass area?
he would probably be open to that, but I can tell you it's going to get used probably 3 times a day. And Belgian blocks is one thing, grass is going to get pretty beat up.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Thank you for the clarification. I was thinking that it was, I don't know why, but I was thinking it would be less. Thank you for the information. Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, on Val's motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm a no.
Let the record reflect, 3 in favor, 2 opposed, Abby and Angus. And we'll go back to the shed.
Can I make any comments?
That one's done. We're moving on to the next one.
Okay. So I've relocated the shed based on your comments last time, and this is along the east property line, right up against the 12-foot hedge. And I did want to point out that the hedge in front of this on Coffin Street is about at least 6 feet. So you're going to see very little of this. And I would like to pass out these photographs I took. This is some sheds, examples. 4 of them are 1880 to 1900. Others are sheds right in the vicinity. 2 are next door. And the reason I wanted to point this out to you, hold on one second. The reason I took these photographs is that I wanted to respectfully comment on the HDC policy that no shed should be in front of the house. This was very typically done at the turn of the century, and you'll see that in those photographs. And it is a very historic treatment of sheds right on the street. So anyway, we put it where we were asked to put it, and I would like to try and keep it away from the addition because I think it's going to really alter the feel of the addition that you've already approved if we push it back too much farther. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to begin?
I'm happy to start.
Don't make me have to use the timer though, Angus.
Yeah, so our comments still are, or at least mine, are consistent. Following the guidelines, it should be at least behind the facade and to the side, preferably in the back. There is a long tradition of sheds being on the roadside of houses that are along the water. And unfortunately, that has sort of proliferated inland. And unfortunately, sheds have gotten through, even though it's not following the guidelines. So again, I agree with the preservation planner's recommendations of moving this back as far back as it can go. Thank you.
Thanks. Abby?
I'm not as concerned about the shed because the closer to the hedge it is on the Coffin Street, the less you're going to see it. But I was kind of, I can't go back to the driveway, but I think I'm okay with this. And just the window shows on that side, right? Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. Thank you.
Great. Connie, any concerns?
No.
Val?
Motion to approve is submitted.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
The record reflects Angus opposed. Thanks, Elizabeth. We're now on to 41 Macy's Lane. I want to let you guys know in advance, no sustenance arriving this evening, so plan accordingly.
No sustenance.
No
no pizza?
No pizza,
No dinner.
yeah. We got like 10 things on the agenda. All right, 41 Macy's Lane rooftop solar. Tobias, good evening.
Thank you, everyone. This was held for review. We also included a brief screening plan. We're looking at doing solar on this one-story structure off of Macy's Lane. It's a nice working-class neighborhood. And I think the other comment was bringing the panels down further on the roof so that they would be hidden by there's some other photographs as well. They'd be more hidden on the side towards the road. The roof is black, pretty much in line with your guidelines. Happy for any feedback.
Thank you.
Where's the driveway?
Let's see, your board, myself, Abby, Val, Angus, and Carrie.
I'll go.
Val.
I went by there and it is very visible in spite of the fact it's one story. I appreciate that it's black. I don't think the tree that's proposed is going to screen anything. And the examples that were provided, all except for one that I remember, and Levin Pond was a trial to see what they would be like. 14 Roberts is on the dormers and the small mass, not the main mass. I did not go by 66 Pocheck, but 17 Meadowview is pretty well screened. 26 Clarendon is off the road, and the one on 3 Marianne is on the side. So I appreciate the examples, but I don't think they really are the same as here. If the panels can go down real low, that would be great. This new thing about the safety with the fire department is really putting a monkey wrench in our idea of having them go side to side so you don't really notice them. But I see this as a prime example, and I'm sorry that it is exactly what we are trying to not do. The front of a building that cannot be mitigated, so I don't know what to say, maybe some other screening of some sort, but not as proposed.
Okay. Just to explore while you still are on, other screening, you mean like left to right across the front, up to the driveway?
Yeah, the most visible part of this is not dead on looking toward the house past the hedge. It's when you're coming up the road, Macy, and you look and there's the driveway cut and then the house right there. It's tough.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Angus?
Yeah, I think Val expressed it. I went by there as well, and it's very visible, and our guidelines are clear about it not being on the front of the main structure, which this is. I appreciate the black roof, but it's not following one of the primary guidelines, but I don't know how much we're doing that tonight.
Thanks, Angus. Let's see, Abby?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said. And I'm not even sure if the dormer were on the front and it had that, not obscured by it being lifted, whether that would make a difference. But anyway, the dormer's on the back, and so it's the whole front of the house. It's a tough one.
Carrie?
Yeah, I went by today too. This house is pretty close to the street. I also went by Weatherly Place because I recalled that we allowed panels on the front of a 1.5-story house, and they were on the dormer that's on the front of the house and the porch roof that's on the front of the house. And in my mind, they're all visible. I mean, you can see them. There's one that's on a low porch and one that's on a high dormer. It's just a matter of, do you look up? Do you look partway up, or do you look all the way up? It has nothing to do with HDC, but I think in working neighborhoods like this, housing is a problem. Cost of housing is a problem. This has nothing to do with HDC, but I think in terms of our guidelines, we should consider that as a potential issue. And I know that that goes against the grain, but it just concerns me because this one rule will hinder a lot of people from being able to save a lot of money. And that's a damn shame. But, the guidelines are the guidelines. So I'm not going to, whatever. It's just a shame. That's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Carrie. Stinking shame is right. I do want to point out, for purposes of clarity, we don't get in, and this is just Carrie made a comment, this is an opportunity to clarify for the public and agents of applicants. The HDC does not weigh into financial matters. It's not part of the Historic Preservation Act that the HDC was originally founded on. Interestingly enough, we are promoting a character and setting that further helps to secure and further develop the local economy, but it's based upon preservation of the historic character and setting. So that's not something I think is likely to change within the HDC Act. It's not part of the Chapter 40 simple HDCs around the state nor our special act. On this one, my thoughts are, I also want to say, the concept of being on dormers and shed roofs and small gables is that in the guidelines is to promote use of solar on secondary masses as opposed to the primary mass where they're going to have typically a higher level visual impact based upon the field of view and just the sheer amount of solar panels that's present on a primary roof structure. Those things being said, I mean, I would like to explore further visual mitigation. I think creating an outdoor room across, with trees along Macy's would be beneficial. No, let me rephrase that. Placing trees across the front, left to right along Macy Lane, and closer towards the house at the driveway to block the view would have the effect of visual mitigation, which I believe would be appropriate. But it would also create the effect of an outdoor room, which would be a really nice touch in that area if you rounded into the side yards with some, some columnar pears or something like that. So those are my thoughts on it. I think as presented, it does not meet the guidelines, and the alternative would be, given the relatively spacious rear yard in that area, is the front would go to a ground array.
I have a suggestion.
Pergola.
We've done this before in the past, like a pergola with the panels set in.
Again, this board's purview, they keep saying it's not in the economic purview of the board, so why are you suggesting things that are more expensive for our local working class
Simply trying
clients?
to make a suggestion.
No, I understand, just,
No crosstalk, guys. So I think the idea that Val's sharing is one that may cost more, but also is in keeping with the character and setting concept. I don't know how you guys want to proceed with this one.
I have a question for Tobias.
Yeah.
yep.
Is a ground array more expensive?
Yeah, because of the steel involved and additional wire, ground arrays are typically anywhere between 20 and 25% more expensive. And in these cases, it's very expensive because it's such a small array, whereas you might often, when you do a big array, you kind of absorb some of that cost, but here it's such a small array.
So no economy of scale. It's interesting you bring that up. It's a relatively small number. I'm wondering if maybe NPT and other local organizations might come up with a solution whereby ground array funding is available to people on a low or no interest loan to help promote the character and setting of the island. We don't really often hear from people on this topic from preservation-oriented organizations, and I think it would be beneficial for them to weigh in with some assistance. I see Mary here, so that came to mind right away, but and perhaps not as the individual organizations that are sponsoring the money, but are the brains behind putting together the effort and getting some of the local, perhaps the community foundation involved. And it sure would make it a lot simpler for folks to have solar and save some money. So I would like to see if we can get some revisions. Are you willing to do some visual mitigation with some trees, or?
We've submitted some mitigation. We've talked about growing up the hedge, planting a tree. There's only about 4 feet between where the driveway ends and the main house. I don't really know where it would go in the front. This building's only 25 feet wide. This is not a wide lot. And so there's really nothing else we can do in mitigation. And in my view, this project meets your guidelines. There's nothing in the guidelines that says anything about the front of a house.
Are you kidding me?
There's also,
Val, please wait your turn.
there's also a utility. We've got a beautiful utility box right out here feeding the house. This board doesn't regulate utilities. And So I think it meets our guidelines.
Okay. Tobias, I do want to point out for the sake of the record, the guidelines specifically indicate that they shouldn't be on the front of a building on a primary mass.
That's factually untrue.
Okay. So if
And-
not stated with the exact Ts crossed and the Is dotted, the clear implication is that, and we can look it up, I'm happy to look at it with you. Or I presume we'll be at the select board and we can read it verbatim. But at this point, I think where we are is the applicant has indicated they're not willing to provide any further visual mitigation. And what do we want to do?
Motion to deny.
You're going to deny outright, or you're going to deny a portion that doesn't meet the guidelines? I mean, they've got a dormer set on the rear of the structure that meets the guidelines. And frankly, they could perhaps be required to fill up the rear building, the rear roof plane.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, to please consider your motion with respect to an outright denial or a
Well, I
partial
would motion to hold for revisions, but they don't want to make revisions. So I won't make a motion, then somebody else
Okay.
can do
Angus?
it.
I'll make a motion to approve the rear panels as applied for and not the front street-facing panels.
Okay, and I'd like to second that for the purposes of discussion, if I may. Does anyone else want to, well, we have a motion, so my suggestion would be that we, friendly amendment, informal, is that we allow the entirety of the rear roof to be covered, which is within our guidelines. So the primary roof plane, to the extent panels can be added.
I'm fine with that amendment.
Sorry, was that on the front or the back?
The rear.
On the rear, okay.
I think that's facing north though, but
Yeah, could I ask a question in
Yeah.
the middle of this whole thing? The shadow, it looks like the south is in the back of the house. Is that correct? Does this house face north?
The street side
Is west.
is more like a southwest, and then the side that's away from the street is more of like a north east, and so
So the front of the house is southwest?
West.
Okay,
yeah, southwest,
gotcha.
yeah.
So rear is east, Macy is west, according to the cardinal point indicator on the site plan. Okay, Angus has a motion, which I understand to be approved subject to adding panels wheresoever they'll fit on the rear of the primary mass roof plane. Is that correct?
exclusively to the back, yes.
Yeah, on the rear.
Yep.
Okay. Of those sitting, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that carries unanimously.
I think you should read your guidelines, but thank you.
Thank you, Bias.
He was on the group with us that did that.
Okay, yep, 6 Lily Street, Emeritus, is Matt here? Hey, Matt, are you gonna be driving? Because we could use a little
Yes,
fast lane pick-me-up here.
you got it. Can you hear me, Mr. Chair?
Yep, go ahead.
Great. I have to join.
6 Lily? Are we on 6 Lily?
We should just be doing that for everyone.
It says I can't share until, while the other participant is sharing.
Let me stop.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet, here it comes.
There we go. Okay.
Go ahead, Matt.
All right, thank you. So first, we made a couple of changes based on the board's comments, number one is we actually shifted the building back an additional foot from where it was previously located, so it's further away from Lily Street. We also took a foot of overall width off the building. Not dramatic changes, but changes nonetheless. Wherever we could do it, we thought we would attempt to do that. The other changes had to do with the architecture, and so we were able to lower the eave heights as requested on the north and west elevations by 10 inches, so that they came down pretty dramatically, as you can see. And then finally, in the interest of brevity, on the west elevation, we integrated the gable pent roof entry, covered entry. And actually the header of the door is at 6'8", but it actually projects up into that gable, if you will. It was kind of a very clever idea that was suggested to us, so that did work out. So we basically dropped the eaves 10 inches, shrunk the overall width of the building by a foot, and pushed it back off Lily Street by a foot. So those are the changes, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Your board mat is, let's see, Abby, Angus, Carrie, Connie, and myself. Does anyone have any concerns?
Yeah,
Abby?
sure. So I think the additive mass on the right is sort of overwhelming and taking away from the historic, smaller building. And if we're going to add on to this, I'd like to see that secondary mass on the right pushed back and so that it doesn't overwhelm that historic building. So if it could shift back, then you'd still realize the historic facade. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Okay.
Angus?
So the last meeting, I think we made it pretty clear that the addition was overwhelming the existing structure. There's more square footage in the addition than there is in the existing structure. And also there was a concern about the building moving at all. It's still proposed to be moved. And losing 6 inches on either side of the building is not really more like 60% of the addition that we wanted. No one mentioned a number, but it's a significant, it needs to be a significant reduction in what is being proposed, and it's not. The elements of this addition just aren't sympathetic to the Underhill vernacular. They're mold windows. They're eaves that don't come out over the windows, like on the north elevation, which would be typical. The largest, what appears to be like the largest sort of width facing the street is the addition. So the pent roof is still proposed, which is not characteristic of the Underhills. The outdoor or the exposed fireplace on the gable wall isn't typical. They're it's overwhelming. The proposal is overwhelming the structure besides the move. So I would say this is like strike number 2, and the next time, if it's anything like this, I would say that's 3 strikes. Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
I'll go.
Carrie?
Thanks. I agree with Abby. I think the right mass on that north elevation or west, the west addition, I totally appreciate that their additions are all 1 story, but I do think that if it moves back and gets away from that or 1.5 story main element, that would really help a lot. I actually disagree with Angus that I think, in general, these additions are in keeping with the architecture, and I appreciate that he's not trying to do anything more, above the 1 story. And on the front elevation, I do read the existing building still there. I think it would be much better with Abby's suggestion of moving that western mass back. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Connie?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, but I do agree with what Carrie just said about that addition. If we can somehow do something with that, I think it would be appropriate. Thank you.
Matt, can you go back to the elevations, please?
The north,
That's good, and then the next set? Yep, and the next? Yep, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I'm actually fine with it as it is. I think you did a nice job with the modifications, and I appreciate the stepping down, I appreciate the modifications, thank you. But it sounds like we're gonna have a motion to hold for revisions, is that correct?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Matt, do you need any clarification on anything?
I think, no, I think it's the west addition. It sounds like pushing that back is the direction we have to go.
Okay. Okay, how about the motion, Angus?
Aye.
You gotta make it.
Oh, I thought Abby
Oh,
just
Abby, you
did.
did, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm an aye.
Well, we can do, oh, no, we can't. Abby,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Connie,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. All right, we're on to
Thank you.
28 Pine Street. Matt, see you again.
Oh, yeah, all right, there we go. Let me do this again.
Matt, your board is myself, Abby, Val, Angus, Carrie.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chair. So you've seen this once before. The last time it was reviewed, the request was to show both the previous HDC submission and the original existing condition for comparison. So starting on the west elevation, in the previous iteration, we integrated this 1-story bump out, and we actually took that roof line and continued it over the existing front entry door. We've omitted that roof covering of the entry door and also reduced the size of the front bump out. So the scale of it got smaller, and we've omitted that roof covering, if you will. We also changed the fenestration on the west elevation on the inside corner bump out, which is on the left side of this Pine Street facade. We had 2 windows. We dropped that down to a single. And then the only other comment we received was about this dormer, which is on the north elevation, and we were able to shrink the dimensions of it. So basically, we were trying to get a bathroom in that bedroom. It's a really small space and needs a bathroom. And so we're able to reduce the width of it, drop the plate height of it, and we actually pushed it further towards the ridge line, if you will. So in basically all 3 axes, we've actually reduced the size of it and shrunk the fenestrip, reduced the size of the windows as well. So those are the changes, Mr. Chair.
Thanks,
you.
Matt. Val?
I appreciate the changes, Matt, thank you, and putting the existing in the picture at the same time, it's very helpful. I think the front bump out is appropriate, and my only reservation, and I understand why you did it, was the gable dormer for the bathroom, is somehow even making that slightly a little bit smaller, but other than that, I appreciate the changes, thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Yeah, I agree with Val. I do appreciate the smaller gabled dormer on that rear piece. And I mean, there's trees and things in front of this thing, right, Matt?
Yeah,
I
there's
feel like
vegetation.
yeah, I feel like the trees will mitigate the, scale of that thing. Because it could go a little smaller, but I get that you need the space, and I think you did a good job on this place all overall. Thanks.
Thanks. Abby?
I actually prefer the original, previously submitted front of this with the little porch covering it. I think it's very awkward to have that shed coming forward with the two windows. I, wait until that
Abby's
finished.
taking far too long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I could spit it out, I'd be faster. I do appreciate, though, on that west front of the building, having that window, just one window instead of the two windows. But yeah, so I like the previous submission, and I think the dormer on the north has to be reduced some more. I think it's sort of overwhelming, but thank you.
Thanks, Angus.
The existing condition is, I actually worked on a house that was similar to this further up on Pine Street that has a facade like this with a flush dormer. I can't imagine anyone ever adding an addition on the front of it. So I have an issue with that. And the dormer, I agree with the comments about it being oversized. And it should be a shed as opposed to a gable to help bring the height down. Thank you.
Thanks. Matt, can you turn that front shed into some type of a bay with hip roofs?
Yeah, very
Because I
easily.
think that would be more in keeping with the original style. I do appreciate removal of the portion that's the covered porch. I think a modification to bay window approach, or a bay rather, would be more in keeping with the historical development of the structure, less contemporary. And on the rear, I agree. I think a shed dormer on there, and I also agree that vegetation and whatnot is going to mitigate the presence of that. So, if you bring it in 6 inches or 9 inches, great, and a shed dormer for me.
I'll see could I just respond real quick? So I'll try to see if we can make the shed dormer work on the north elevation. We did look at that because the roof pitch is fairly shallow. It was terminating. It wasn't totally working, but I'll look to see if we can make that work, because I agree it would be better. It just drops the plate height dramatically there. But just so you know that we did explore that, and from what I recall, we couldn't make it work. But I'll take another look at that. And we also dropped the bathroom to like the bare minimum in terms of like the usable space in there. And you can look at that on the floor plan. You can see it's super tight, but I'll see if we can do better there. As far as the bay, just so we can definitely make it a hip. If we did make it a hip, is everybody okay with like the two windows, or would you prefer that we make it look like a traditional bay, specifically where it's like kind of cornerboard to cornerboard of glass? Or does that make sense what I'm saying there? So I can change the roof, no problem, to a hip, but I just wonder, yep.
On that, I suggest just, run your program and then,
See what works, okay.
And then bring us some alternatives.
Okay,
But
perfect.
don't pick the one you want until we won't approve.
All right, wait, I don't know if I understand that, but don't pick the one I want until,
Yeah, don't supply one you want until we won't approve.
okay, got it.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so we get a motion to hold for revisions, please.
So moved.
Let's see, on your motion,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Angus.
Hi.
Val.
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
all right,
Okay,
thank
just
you
like
all.
that. Thanks, Matt. We're on to
Appreciate
42 Chuck Hollow, which is not quite our halfway mark. And your board Daryl is myself. Is Daryl here? All right, so it's Daryl, Abby, Angus, Carrie, and Joe. Oh, now I recall this one. Good evening, Daryl.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, are you gonna share your screen, or would you like our staff to run through the information you provided?
I'm sorry.
You're not going to share your screen.
Yeah, so Fiona, will you, Daryl, as you proceed through your presentation, please announce what page you want to be on. Thank you.
Actually, my thoughts were that to the far columns on either side, take those down. The little wall that is 3 to 4 feet high is already covered pretty much with rhododendron and viburnum. Keep the columns that we have, but lower them a couple of feet, make it more modest. And that's my thoughts about what we could do there. So I think we'd end up with a wall that would be invisible totally just by virtue of the rhododendron and viburnum, which are, I think, maybe by spring it will definitely happen. And if not, I can plant more things right now. But I'll probably be coming up just to focus on this whole thing. So anyway, that's my thought. We make the columns a lot more modest going into the house. Then the wall would be invisible. And that's kind of the simple thought process, I think.
Thanks, Daryl. Just want to make sure I'm clear. You're proposing the columns as shown and the wall as shown, but mostly hidden by vegetation?
Sorry, yes, the stone columns would be shorter and more modest, and that would be the only thing left visibly.
Daryl, I'm just trying to understand, shorter than you're showing in the drawing, or this is shorter than is built?
Shorter than it was showing in the drawing, yeah. Probably a foot and a half shorter.
Okay, thank you. So what's being proposed is these columns reduced by approximately a foot, and the clarifying to vegetation along the stone wall to hide it. I'm not quite sure how that works, but.
And by the way, I'm not proposing any sort of treatment, lattice or otherwise, in terms of a screen process, totally leaving that open.
Okay, and where, Daryl, are you proposing that would be?
I'm sorry?
I'm just trying to understand with respect to the wall, you're saying, I presume you're not suggesting immediately adjacent to it, but somewhere else on the property closer to the road, or no? I'm trying to understand. Where would you propose lattice?
I'm sorry?
They're asking where you want the lattice, but
No lattice at all. I'm saying that I would totally, I'd love to have it, but on the other hand, I'm totally willing to totally do away with the lattice. So the only thing visible again would be the wall that would be really no columns at either far end, and that from there there'd be nothing showing but the
Okay,
plants in front of the wall and the columns going to the house.
okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Are you joking? I could ask some questions.
Yes, please.
Okay, I just want to clarify, Daryl, that on the front, that there will be none of that lattice fencing between the posts, the stone posts.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so that's just in the
Wait,
drawing. That's a little bit
Abby, I've
confusing.
got to interrupt. When you say absolutely not, there's a potential double negative in that whole sequence of sentencing. Darrell, we just need to know, are you proposing to install lattice or not? Because the
No.
drawing you submitted
No.
suggests there will be lattice.
No lattice.
Okay,
Okay,
so this drawing is not reflective of your application and is not
No.
part of the current
Sorry.
application.
Okay, question number 2, Daryl. The very far end posts, those are, you're taking those away?
That's my proposal. If it's in, I would love to keep them. But I would plant something climbing Boston Ivy on them so they'd be totally inconspicuous. As I would do the same thing on the columns for the entryway. But I would keep them. But on the other hand, if I need to sacrifice something, I think I could make the landscaping look good without those far end.
Just my last question, on the gate, the 2 stone posts on the gate, you said you're reducing those by a foot. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, all right.
Anyone
you.
else with any questions?
Yeah, I had a question about the caps on these posts. If, so there's a proposal to reduce the overall height, but I think there was a request at the last meeting to eliminate the caps, or actually not to do any more work on them, but to eliminate the caps that were drawn. Through the chairs, are those caps intended to be built a foot lower?
Responded 2 ways to that. First of all, the photographs were taken with simply the original.
Darrell, I'm sorry, we just need to get an answer to the question. Are you proposing to reduce these by a foot and put caps on them as shown in the drawing?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions? All right, now I need to remind myself who's on this.
Could I ask one more question
Yes.
while you're doing
Carrie
that?
and Joe are next.
Just one more question, Daryl, for me, Abby. Those wooden structures that are shooting out of, like, the main gate, those will be sawed off and
Oh,
those
yes.
won't be there?
Yes, certainly. There would be a cap on that column, very simple cap. I'm reducing, that's how I'm reducing the height.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, okay.
Joe or Carrie, any questions?
No questions, but the full height, the maximum height of the 2 central columns with the gate is 4 feet?
I'm sorry.
The maximum height of those columns.
No, it'd be more than 4 feet. It would have to be. It would be somewhere, but I can't really tell you.
Darrell, I hate to interrupt, but what would the height be? What height are you proposing?
Oh, it's hard to know, tell you exactly, but I'd say 6 to 7 feet.
No, they don't look like they are, in the photo, they look like they are only about 5 feet at the moment, when you look at the Jeep and then the height of those columns.
For
That,
the rest of it, yeah.
Guys, no,
I'm
the
really,
crosstalk, Darrell, Carrie, the crosstalk has to stop. This is taking a lot of time unnecessarily.
sorry, I thought I was still on my turn.
You are, and Darrell needs to just wait, and you should please just formulate a question and ask your question, and then Darrell, you can please answer it directly.
Okay, I think just instead of a question, I have a comment, which is I think 4 feet should be the max on those posts.
Okay,
And
thank you. That's,
be just under that.
thank you. Anything else?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, Joe? Oh, Joe's not here. Our alternate is Val.
I haven't sounded any.
Okay, our alternate is Connie. Alternate, please stay abreast.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
So if you're going to reduce the posts, how, that's gonna have to reduce the little finesse on the gate?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The hinge point post, or the style of the gate would be reduced presumably if the post is reduced, correct?
Yes, they have to be redrawn. They're already made, but I'm not sure how 4 feet will work in there. And maybe 4 feet will work plus the column caps,
They're 66, the top of the
Yeah,
gate is
okay.
which will only be about 18 inches.
Thanks. I think I think the answer is the authority having jurisdiction needs to make a determination.
Yes, so if we were to reduce the post by 4 feet, you could take that whole little hinge point, I think you called it, and just have that lower gate. And then remove those last 2 posts. And I am curious as to what would be on top, because it looks like the cap is probably another foot, maybe. So now we're talking back to 5 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we go back to the image of the existing condition, please?
It's changed.
Yeah, I'm just going to express what it is that I believe should be built so I can know that I can sleep with one eye open. So my feeling is based upon the conditions on the site and the area, and this being very atypical, but also not being directly visible, is that the columns should be no taller than 4 feet. I would prefer them to be a foot taller than the wall. I think that would be proportionally more appropriate, and there should be no lattice, and there should be no gate, and there should be no caps. It should be a natural stone cover extension of the wall, horizontal plane of the stone material. I'm sorry, the top of the column, to my mind, should be reuse of materials that the columns are made of, but laid flat and mortared in place on the horizontal. That's what I believe should happen.
On your, I don't know if that was a motion, but did you say no gate?
No gate,
No gate at all?
no gate at all.
Okay. Oh my God.
If it's visible, if it's not visible, then cut that.
What's
to
wrong
top
with
of
the gate?
Column. Daryl, I'm sorry, what?
What's wrong with the gate in Nantucket? I just did a house over in Wisconsin, and we had a lovely gate, and just right up and down the road in Wisconsin. What's different here?
Daryl, it's so, I'm sorry, it is so hard to, something with your connection is making your statements almost unintelligible. We're just suffering through it. So next time, if you have to come back, let's please work on the connection. The difference is you're in Tom Nevers and not in Sconset, and this is not a home in Sconset. And it's a rural area where if there's a gate, which there are not many, they are a horse paddock style, which is to say, 4 or so horizontal slats hung from a tall post with a crossbuck. So this is very different, and I don't believe it's appropriate, and I don't believe it's approvable.
Well, I don't understand Tom Nevers. I've ridden all around.
Daryl, I'm sorry, but this isn't a back and forth. You bring your application in.
Listen,
we look
you,
at it, and then we make a decision.
Mr. Chair, I have a hand raised.
Okay, who is it?
Howard Metz.
okay, what do you say?
Hello, Howard.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me? I have an odd setup today, and I'm not sure it's working.
We hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes. I live across the street from this house, and I drive up this road every day, and I see this wall, which is totally incongruous to the flavor of the neighborhood and the context. It just doesn't even belong here. I don't know where it belongs. There's a desire here to create the certain ambiance of, I guess, South Carolina, but this is not South Carolina. And I really would like to encourage the HCC to consider asking that this entire wall be removed, because I do see it now and the foliage isn't all gone yet, and it's just about going to be totally visible as the foliage falls off. So thank you for hearing me out on this, and I hope you see fit. I don't think that 4 feet or whatever is the right height for this. I think that it really needs to be removed. Thank you.
I hope you'll give me time for a response to this.
Thank you,
This
Howard.
thing,
Thanks, Steve.
Daryl, please, you can't just, there's a decorum to follow, please.
listen, I have a chance to respond to this guy.
You may,
Yeah.
Daryl, when you're recognized, you may respond. You will have 30 seconds. Your time begins now.
The same guy is the one who called the wall to task to begin with. Since then, he has done a variety of things. He has driven over our lawn.
Daryl, I'm going to stop you there. The HDC, it sounds like that might be a police matter.
Well, listen, you just listen to this guy.
Daryl, listen to me, please. As a representative of this commission, we are not here to arbitrate neighbor disputes. We are here to view, Daryl, we are here to view applications for architectural elements and pass judgment as the authority having jurisdiction on their appropriateness.
Why do you let this guy talk?
Okay, so do you have a comment?
He's the same one who came over
Daryl?
last week and said, turn the lights off
Daryl, please.
because the lights are bothering your house.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay,
Can I try to make a
I'm
motion?
working on grace and serenity. I don't know if I did any good there, but I'm working on it.
Good control.
Was that pretty good?
That was good.
Thank you. Abby, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to make the posts on either side of the main gate no higher than 60 inches with a simple cap, that the gate be cut down to reflect that. That means the extra doodads on top get taken off. There be no lattice, and that the posts on either end, on the far ends, be dismantled. And that, did I say no lattice above the wall?
Yeah.
Yes,
And-
okay,
and can I second that just for discussion?
sure, yes.
So I want to make sure I understand. Did you say 60-inch
60 inches,
columns at the entryway,
including the cap.
including the cap, no gate? Or
There,
gate?
the gate to,
Top out the same,
yeah,
okay. Comparable height gate, no taller, and no columns at the left and rightmost ends,
and no lattice.
and no lattice. And can we get along with that motion, the service of the motioner will be to use a red pen and, as Exhibit A, and X out the materials on the application submission?
Yes.
Okay.
Third it.
Angus?
Can I third for discussion? And that is just to, a lot of what is making this motion possible is the lack of visibility. And there's comments about the vegetation that's screening this not being on the property of the applicant. So as part of the motion, could we please add to screen, to maintain the screening from inspection and in perpetuity?
Right, so that would be an evergreen material in the area of the hydrangea, as shown in this image.
Wherever necessary not to see this wall.
Yeah, he's got a lot of viburnum.
So, and the wall not visible at the time of inspection or thereafter, it's kind of, I'll leave it at that. The motion is then, just for the minutes maker, 5 foot, max 5 foot columns inclusive caps at the entryway, gate to be no taller, no columns at the left and rightmost ends. The visibility shall be, existing visibility shall be maintained as it is now in perpetuity.
And no lattice.
Oh, and no lattice. Okay, that's your motion, Abby. Abby,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
let's see, Connie,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
and I'm actually a no. I think they should be lower columns. Okay, so that carries for the record, 4 in favor, 1 opposed, Welch. And we are now on to 115 Cliff Road. Val, good evening. Your board is, my vision was fine when I started. See what stress does to you. Myself, Ray, Abby, Angus, and Joe. And Joe's not here, correct?
Okay. I was,
Correct. So let's see, it will be Carrie on this one, Carrie on all these.
I assisted this project to get to you guys. The architect, Chris Moran from Brooks and Faltico, is actually here. He'd like to present the project if he could share the screen.
Please proceed.
Chris, if you can hit accept, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Good, thank you. Yes, so this is 115 Cliff Road. We presented to you back in June. So thank you for hearing us again. We took our time with and listened to everything you guys said, and kind of came back and simplified the whole overall project and structure. I can share my screen. You want to go right to the elevations, or should we? Great.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Chris, just for your information, we do run a timer and you got 2 minutes. We started it when you started. We'll give you a soft landing on the other side.
I appreciate it. Do you see my screen?
We do.
Of the elevation of the drawing?
Yep.
Great. So what we've done is we've decreased all of our trim. We've removed some of our trim. The eaves are smaller. The rake is smaller. We removed corner board, so there's less trim. And this is overall for the whole for all these elevations. Went to a 6/6 double hung window on the front dormer. Pushed them back a little bit. These are all comments from the board. Removed the double columns at the front portico. Removed the transom, and just went with side lights. I can continue and go across the other elevations as well. Here as well, same thing. Simplified all of the trim back in this back area. We had pilasters before and deeper freezes. Freezes are decreased and removed those pilasters, replaced it with shingle. Rear elevation, the same idea. All the trim is simplified and or smaller. The 2 flanking rooms on the sides, we'll remove those pilasters. The freeze boards been removed and much smaller. And then our last elevation simplified this as well. Added double hung windows in this bay in the kitchen, and got rid of and simplified this portico for the side entry, getting rid of the columns as well. The double columns, excuse me.
Okay, anything else? Okay,
I'm sorry, was that to me?
yep. Oh, good timing. Okay, yeah, I just was confirming you'd wrapped
Yes,
up.
sorry. Yes.
Nope, no reason to apologize. Okay, so let's see, again, myself, Ray, Abby, Angus, and Carrie. Let's see, Ray, you haven't had a chance to talk.
I haven't had a chance to talk all night, and I'm just like chomping at the bit. So I would say, thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the design of the house. There are a few things that I think could be improved upon. So you have the central gambrel is well proportioned. I think it works really well. And then we have these flanking gambrels. Well, this is one of those conditions like where you have a cross-plan gable where it's a gable facing north and west. Well, you have a gambrel facing, well, on one side you'd have it facing south, and another gambrel facing east, and then on the other side, you've got one facing south and a side gambrel facing west. The problem with that is it's a practical problem, and it's also for me, a visual problem. The practical problem being that if you have a gambrel like this that's kind of colliding into the side of the main gambrel, you're gonna have water just cascading down there and just like splashing against the side of the house on the white cedar shingles, which, you know, kind of is not our purview, but I think good building practices go hand in hand with like good Nantucket architecture. So my suggestion would be, rather than have the gambrels facing south, also known as Cliff Road, those could actually be dormers and net out at essentially the same amount of space on the interior, so nothing is lost. But then you'd be able to pull the eave all the way across, and the whole thing would feel a little bit less grandiose. You know, the sort of flanking gambrels thing. I think it would be more understated. It would be like more rational architecture. So that's item number one. I'm less troubled by the fact that you've got a dormer coming off of those two side gambrels facing north that's almost completely flush with the gambrel it's adjacent to. So the only thing that's really kind of separating that wall plane is the rake coming down. Although you've set it back a little bit, so I think that that's less of an issue. It's also less of an issue for me because it's on the side. The other thing that I think is really desperately needs improvement is the roof walk, which, as seen from the front, is pretty good, fine, but then as seen from the side is absolutely immense. And it will be seen from the sides. The photographs bear out that when you drive down Cliff Road, at least with the vegetation the way it is, you're going to see the sides of this thing fairly conspicuously. I would say things about the back, also known as the north, but I don't really think that that's going to be visible from any public way, so I'm going to refrain from doing that. But those are my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Abby?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the size of this building being, so as it's existing now, we're keeping the little gambrel and taking away the smaller building, which is kind of the end of Cliff Road on that side before it goes very rural and then becomes the Tuppence sort of golf links. I think it's going to really stand out. I like the design. There's nothing wrong with the design. There are a couple architectural things I'd like to talk about, but I think the massiveness is, it's just going to be, it's almost like it's at the end of the world, and it's like, boom, there you are with two gambrels looking at you. So I think the whole massing thing is too much for me, given where it's situated. I think the roof walk is on a side gambrel, or however this is, it's not really working for me. I'm not sure a gambrel is appropriate on this architecture. So I'm not really sure how to approach this, because I like the changes, I like taking off the details and scaling it down, the trim and all that, but adding on the blue shutters certainly doesn't help. So I'd like to see something a little more subtle for this particular site. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Who's next? Angus?
Sure. I agree with Ray's comments, and I'm just going to drill down on the roof walk a little bit. This, as Abby's pointed out, is a fairly large structure that's sort of out beyond the rows of houses on Cliff Road. But the roof walk should be centered on the ridge of the primary gambrel, and not be any wider or deeper than 8 feet. 17 by 21 is just, wow, just completely inappropriate. So I think it could even be the width that it's shown, but the depth would be 8 feet straddled on the ridge. Thank you.
Thanks. Carrie?
I don't have much to add. I agree with what everything has been said, especially the double gambrels on the front. On the side door on the right, that little balcony over the back door seems a little atypical, and I think maybe just a simple little hip roof rather than an actual deck above it would be better. This rear elevation, yeah, I completely agree with the roof walk. It's a little nuts. The rear elevation, the dormers on each of those interior moments of the gambrel, it just is, I don't know. I know we're not going to see this, so it's up to the builder, but it just seems odd. Thanks, that's it.
Okay, thanks. I have no additional comments. Do we have a motion?
I'd hold for revisions.
That sounds like a motion. On your motion.
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Angus?
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, next up is the garage guest house. And it's the same board for all of these.
Okay, thank you. It's basically the same comments where we've simplified this whole, a lot of the trim, updated the garage doors, flattened out those arched tops, and removed the corner boards. The eave overhangs are smaller. Removed profiles like bed molds. Added 6/6 double hungs in the dormers in the front, and I think that's about it. Also, we pushed those dormers in the front back as well.
Okay, great. Let's do the same order, Ray.
So generally good. I'm focusing at the moment, once again, on the elevation that faces Cliff Road, specifically the dormer that comes off to the right of the gambrel. So we haven't been completely consistent about this rule, but the dormers are supposed to be inset from the face of the wall by 3 feet. That is something that shows up in our HTC building with Nantucket in mind. And, you know, we're less rigorous about adhering to it. But this one is like looking right out at Cliff Road. I think we should do the 3 feet. And then we should also, and it might require reducing the size of the window that's in that dormer, but move that window to the left, because right now it's kind of looking like it's avoiding the presence of the rake that's to the left of it. I'd like to see it move closer. So that's one thing. And, you know, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I don't love the style of these garage doors. They look kind of South Carolina to me.
Again,
Was it South Carolina? The theme.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I think that if they just had different light division or something, because it looks to me right now like they're just long vertical lights. Maybe if they had more relationship to the panes and the windows above them in the dormers, I don't know, but there's lots of precedent for good garage doors, so that's it for me, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Abby?
well, so what I said about the main house, this is all, that it's so grand in this last building that's on the right of Cliff as you're going out of town. And you know, it's a nice design, but I think it's in the wrong place. For instance, we were talking about the garage doors. I'd like to just see those as simple batten doors. And again, with the blue shutters, it's just lovely, but it seems out of place. Thank you.
Thanks, Angus.
Yeah, I agree with what's been said. I have actually a question I haven't quite figured out through the chair to the applicant. What's the height of the garage doors? They look tall to me.
I think they're 8 feet.
Okay, thank you.
It might be 8'6".
Okay. Yeah, the proportions seem too high for their width. And Ray was mentioning about the south-facing dormer. And what I'm seeing is the cut-in of that dormer into the main roof. And so that's a concern. The roof should, wherever the dormer intersects with the roof, it should stop rather than cutting down into the roof plane. And so that would make that window more of a 9 light or a 6 light or something. But wherever that intersection is, the main roof should then continue across. Thank you.
Thanks. Carrie?
The only thing I have to add is on that south and north elevation is the half cross gambrel, so to speak. I feel like that should be a little lower than the main gambrel height. Maybe it just means making more narrow the cross mass, but that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I have nothing to add. Motion?
Motion to hold for revisions.
Okay, on your motion.
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. I think, should we, well, let's look at Full House quickly. I think we can probably give abbreviated comments.
May I ask you a quick question?
Yep, go ahead.
I just want to get a clarification on that 3 foot that Ray was talking about. Was it from the bottom wall or?
So if you look at building with Nantucket in mind, there's a setback from the rake of the, let's see, let me get my orientation here.
I gotcha, from the side. Okay.
From the side, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm thinking that's looking like about 1.5 feet or 1'9" to me. It just needs to be moved further back from the rake.
Okay,
Not-
I understand.
The rake of the east
Submit.
gambrel.
I'm with you. I got it. I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I, through you?
Yeah, Holly?
It's page 110 of Building with Nantucket in Mind.
I was going to say that.
Was that 110? I thought you
It
were.
was 110.
Okay. All right, next.
Pool house?
Yep.
Okay, so our pool house, we removed the cupola. We haven't removed the round window, but it's shown there. The overhangs are smaller. We're reduced the size of the trim and the frieze and the fascia. We've got rid of the bed mold. We've added the lattice panels. That this idea of climbing plants on this more of a folly that's kind of in this landscape. We also reduced the roof slope down so it wasn't as tall as it was before.
Excellent, thanks. Same order?
That would be me, I guess, right?
Yes.
This is not a typical massing or anything. It was a little bit of a tempietto with the round windows. I think that the remedy to this is going to be in the landscape. You know, it's set back on the property. However, if I just look at your site plan, if I were at the curb cut, looking across your parking area, I don't see any vegetation between Cliff Road and that thing to in any way block or obscure it. So I think that short of redesigning it in a way that would be appropriate if it were fully visible, I think you might want to give us a landscape plan that shows us how the visibility of it will be minimized. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
No, I agree completely with what Ray just said, that it's a clear shot from Cliff Road, and I don't mind the architecture, I think it's fine. But I'd like to see the landscape plan to just make sure we're just seeing a partial of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Angus?
My concerns have been voiced. Thank you.
Carrie?
Yeah, I think if it's visible, it's a little fanciful, and the cross gable is not really necessary, but an eave forward to the street would be a lot quieter and nice. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Carrie's comments. Can we get a motion to hold for revisions
So moved.
and additional information? On your motion, Abby?
Aye.
Angus?
Hi.
Ray?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Hey, Chris, what I'm going to suggest is, given we're looking for a hardscape, and I think maybe the resiting of the shed and the pool could all come together with that hardscape plan, and we could look at that the next time.
Okay,
Is that good with you?
that's okay with me, yes.
Just a quick question.
And hold on one second, please. Abby has a question.
I just have a question about all the staircase on the west side of this building. Would that be under landscaping?
You're talking about the
And the
hardscape stuff?
Yeah, the
Yeah. Yeah, we'll pick that
hardscape.
up.
That'll be under landscaping?
Yeah, and
Okay.
Chris, if there's any grade changes of more than a couple of feet, we'd like to see a cross-section of the area.
Okay,
That's pretty typical. Okay, so we're gonna hold those, the recite shed and pool are gonna track the pool house. And the pool house is a revision with some additional information, being vegetation and screening and the landscape plan. Okay, so we are now on to 10 Maxi Pond Road, as-built deer fence.
Did we take a motion on that?
We don't need to vote
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
on those ones. We voted
thank
on
you.
the pool house. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
10 Maxi Pond. Good evening. Welcome to the HTC.
Thank you. So I'm Van Vel. I'm the owner, and my son is the architect, Lucas. He's traveling, and I think he was at the previous meeting. So thanks for the chance to explain. I built the deer fence myself. I built it 5 years ago when we first bought the property. At that time, the Anglers Club owned the surrounding land. So since that time, it's been sold to the land bank. I apologize. I didn't realize you had to get a HDC permit for a deer fence. I've been in Nantucket a long time, but I've seen a lot of deer fences. I just thought that those were just so common that you could just put them up on your property. So my apologies. From the last meeting, I think what we offered through my son was to remove the cross pieces of the fence. And by the way, the deer fence is 7 feet high, so it's not an 8-foot fence. And I think it was suggested at the meeting that we move the deer fence back. So we're prepared to do that. And my son suggested we paint the deer fence, the post, some kind of gray stain or something to make them less visible. So we're okay with those suggestions, if those are what you guys would like us to do. Most of the deer fence you can't see very well because it's hidden by vegetation. We're mainly talking about on the back of the property where it abuts the land bank. We're mainly talking about 100 feet or so of exposed deer fence. And what the other suggestion was to put some vegetation in front of the deer fence when we move it back to make it less visible.
Okay.
Natural vegetation, we take your recommendations.
Okay, anything else, Jan?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right, your board is myself, Abby, Angus, Val, and Carrie. Guys, so we heard this one, and I think it'd just be great if we focused on what it is we do or don't want to see and be succinct. Val?
I think the unfortunate part is, and he's captured it in examples, is people just put it up without asking us. And so there are a lot of examples that are just horrible. The key to this is hidden with vegetation and not seen. I think in all of those circumstances, it's perfectly fine. It's how to mitigate it visually when it's in the middle of an open space. And I think Holly brought up, it can be seen from the historic cemetery.
All right, from the land bank property.
Yeah.
That's not land bank property though, is it? The cemetery?
Owned by the town of Nantucket.
Oh, okay, I thought so. Okay, let's see, does anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, I think just to Val's point about not seeing it and having vegetation screening it is pulling it a significant distance away from the property lines. So as much as it needs to be pulled from the west, it's hard to really understand the site plan, but it looks like it's like pulls back for most of the west border, but then comes forward for the north and south parts of that west border. So I think all of it wants to sort of be back from that west border.
Okay, is there anyone who disagrees with what's been said? Because if no one disagrees, then what we would do, I would suggest is take the site plan, mark it up as an Exhibit A, include the conditions and restrictions there and on the COA, if we decide to approve it, subject to the site-based revisions.
Could I ask one question before
Yeah.
we vote? On the Maxi Pond Road, where it's a circle and you go down the driveway, is any of the fencing on that side of the driveway? Or is it all down towards the pond?
There's nothing visible from Maxi Pond Road.
Okay.
It's a couple hundred feet from the
Thank
road.
you. All right.
That's
Fine.
true, I viewed it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Angus, are you willing to work up an Exhibit A and the conditions, restrictions? I believe that what we're saying is that the fence and post will be moved back sufficiently for screening so as not to be visible at time of inspection or thereafter. And,
Oh, could we not paint them gray? Could we just do natural to weather?
yeah, yep, no, just moved and screened.
And the gate is, I mean, looks like there's one example in the photos, but the gate wants to lose some horizontal rails, right, at the top, and would want to be wire instead.
That one I thought was, that gate, the taller gate I thought was buried within the site. Did I misunderstand, Van? Where on the site plan is the taller gate?
The gate is along the dirt road on the pond side. And I forgot to mention, yeah, that gate actually started off lighter, but deer were jumping through the gate. So I kept adding boards to keep them from jumping through. But I can remove the boards that I added and just put deer fencing in between. So I can lighten that gate up
Sounds good.
dramatically.
And I know a couple of archers who'd be happy to come by your house.
I'm sure.
Okay, so Angus, including a modification of the over slatted gate, which you can mark up on the drawing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? So that's an Exhibit A.
Can I just ask one question? So we're talking about moving the deer fence back wherever it's visible, I think,
Yeah, and then
Right.
screening it such that it's not
in
visible.
front. Okay,
And then adjusting removing some of the slats on that gate.
right.
And it would be like pulling it off of the south border
Yeah.
as well, where it's, looks like it's 5 feet away or something.
And that'll be written up on a site plan with a red pen that Abby's gonna pass to Angus, and he's, nice. Okay.
Okay.
So all in favor of the Exhibit A that Angus will be providing, motion, Angus,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
Val,
Aye.
Carrie? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Now we're on to 65 Pulpus Road.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Rooftop solar, Dylan Wallace, who looks a lot like Tobias Whitten.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
He does.
Oh, yes, he does.
This
Very much.
evening, representing Mr. Wallace.
Good evening, Tobias. When you see the site plan, so guys, this was a view. Did anyone not view it?
I didn't view it.
Okay, so you actually don't happen to be on it, so that doesn't present a problem. So the board is myself, Ray, Val, Angus, and Connie.
Thank you, members of the board. Last time, there was a request for a greenhouse that was approved, some additional screening to be shown. This project, has a black roof. We're looking at putting the the screening aforementioned. There's pretty limited visibility from Pulpus Road, although visibility is not really an issue, since there are so many visible panels across the street. On the farm, Dylan Wallace, he's a farmer on the island, looking to save some money to bring some more fresh fruits and vegetables to folks on the island. As I mentioned earlier in this evening, solar is a utility, just like a utility pole or a transformer box just outside this building. So, just in line with the HDC's guidelines. And then furthermore, in line with, Section 2 of the HDC's enabling legislation that outlines, this is adding to the economic development of the island. and also referenced in section 9A, adding to the economic development of the island. So love to save these people some money, looking to get approval for solar on both sides of the structure. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to caution the board members, please do not talk about money. The last time we talked about money, we had an appeal, we lost. So please act accordingly.
I'll go.
Dale.
I appreciate the pictures once again, and there are some on the farm. And the other buildings, they are the rear of those buildings. So yes, it's not about seeing them, it's about them being on the front of the house. This is a wide open shot from Kelly Road and Pulpus Road. The roof is not black, it's gray. And photo BDE shows exactly what you see. If there could be a shift in the driveway, it could come in a different way and they could plant that out, they'd probably be okay. Are you suggesting they're gonna do a black roof?
Yes, yeah,
And-
that was
okay.
already agreed upon.
That's good. And there is a little shed on the property that is also pretty close to the main structure. And maybe that could have some, it just seems like a huge abundance of panels to me, as opposed to enough to run the household or whatever. If there is going to be some sort of building, I know there was something approved, but I don't see it on this site plan, that could mitigate it, that would be also acceptable. That's it.
Oh, you mean the hoop house?
Yeah, putting that in front of it help.
Thanks. Ray?
Okay, so for starters, the black roof, and that's like, that was part of the application?
No.
We just spoke about it last time, so I was just, I assume.
But so it could
black
be a
roof
a
always.
condition of the approval?
Yes, yeah, it would be
Okay,
painted
that's
black or
good.
turned to black.
So my thoughts on this really echo Val's in many ways. Like, so the precedents that you show of all the solar that is around the farm are A, on the back of the houses, and B, like really far away from the traveled road. I think we can all agree to that, unlike this one. So I thought this idea of Val's of redirecting that drive so that you don't have this straight shot, you sort of have like this diagonal line that is fairly apparent from your photo E. If somehow that was able to be moved, I think most of the issue would go away. And the question I have for you, Tobias, is on your site plan, you've added some language that says proposed evergreen screening. And could you remind me also what the approved hedgerow, approved by whom, and what is that all about? The hedgerow.
What do you mean?
Well, it says approved hedgerow.
Oh, just for the greenhouse, There was, it was part, it was part of that condition, the greenhouse.
Approved by this board.
Yes.
For the greenhouse.
Yep.
So the hedgerow has to go in anyway for the
Yeah.
greenhouse, so, okay, all
But
right.
that's not gonna cover.
But, well, no, it won't, but,
It'll-
so I'm
it'll-
more asking you, your idea is that the hedgerow would sort of round the corner onto Kelly and become the proposed evergreen screening that we see along Kelly? Is that?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think the things that are working in your favor are black roof and trying to get that straight shot mitigated from looking diagonally across Pulpus Road and Kelly Road right to the front roof of this house. And I think that could be accomplished relatively easily. Those are my comments, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Connie?
Yeah, nothing really to add. I agree with what's already been stated, especially about the array being on the front of the house, which I think is problematic. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's see, Angus?
I don't have anything else to add, except driving along Pulpus Road, those pines do a fair amount of obstructing the view. It really is that turn as you're going east on Pulpus, where you're turning onto Kelly Road. And so, moving the drive in such a way that it's not such a clear sort of opening between here and there, that's really the visible part. These are sort of staggered in such a way that you don't really get a very good view this way. It's really this way. So if things were reconfigured, but, as far as what that costs, it might be less to install them on the ground or think of some other place to put them. But I agree with what's been said about the front.
I don't want to, if I may, Chairman.
Very briefly.
I don't want to, I think this project is in line with the economic development of Section 2 and Section 9B of the HDC's Enabling Act. It's preserving the ecology of the island, and I think adding in an additional cost by moving the driveway is nonsensical and arbitrary and capricious.
Okay. So it sounds like we're padding our way on the paper record for an appeal.
Sorry,
and
just- I do
furthermore,
have to comment.
Wait a minute,
It's
wait a minute.
It's a dirt driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tobias,
All right.
your point is well taken to
Thank
the
you.
extent that it does not seem that it seems to me as if you come in with a foregone conclusion that this would be a kind of a case study in front of the select board based upon your interpretation of manipulation of the act with respect to.
I think that's conjecture.
Excuse me, with respect to tailoring it to solar installations. I can assure you that the act was written to preserve the historic character and setting of the island, and solar was not something that was around in 1955 when the act was written, number one. Number two, it is a longstanding local practice, this goes to your point about not being on the front of the home. Just like black, there is a longstanding local practice, I believe by voice vote, if not actually written vote, somewhere along the line, for almost as many years as I've been sitting here, which is almost 10 years, that the roof color be black, that the solar panels not be on the front of a primary mass, and that they would be concentrated on secondary masses or ground arrays. That's a longstanding practice. It carries as much weight as law. So based upon that, to clarify the record, which is very important in the minutes, please, whoever's making the minutes for this one, because it's going to go to appeal, I presume, based upon the comments that have been made. All minutes are important. I don't want to give anyone a misperception on that. My interpretation of what's appropriate here is that this is a agricultural property?
Yes.
Okay.
A working class neighborhood,
Well, no, but didn't the individual come in and they actually have a farm classification?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand correctly. Much as we approve solar outside of the guidelines on commercial structures with more leniency, it is because the guidelines are for typically residential only structures. That's not to say everybody can go and plant a beach plum tree and call themselves a farmer and get solar on the front of their house. So in a bona fide use, which I presume is the case here based upon the testimony we heard tonight and in the past, I am okay with the idea of some visual mitigation, that visual mitigation including relocating the driveway. If you're a farmer, you got a tractor. And we are not in the business of cost estimating and cost analysis and comparisons, but it's a relatively small lift, and I mean less than 6 inches because it's on the ground, to put in some driveway put down some, repack the concrete reused in brick and stone, or what have you, in order to have a functional solar array. So it's up to you and your client as to how you want to proceed, once we make a determination. What is the determination we want to make?
Is that a question you're posing to the
you all.
board or to?
To the authority having jurisdiction?
Well, okay, I would actually put it to the applicant.
I think we
I'm gonna-
got an answer.
I would say, again, very respectfully, this project meets your guidelines. We proposed some screening. We're not willing to change the driveway. I think we'd be fine with doing solar just on the back, but we would like solar approved on the front as well.
Well, that
And
answers
that's
the question.
in
Okay,
line with the
well,
guidelines.
look, I'm not looking for a fight, but I think, did you just say you would look for it on the back
Well,
exclusively?
both pitches.
Well, no, I get that, but I don't think I was the only one that was looking for a move of the drive to block the diagonal view in from Pulpus Road.
On the front.
On the front, the back is fine.
Yeah.
I don't care about the back.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to suggest a motion.
sure,
Going where you're headed here.
okay,
I think.
yeah.
Your motion would be that the solar is approved on the rear of the structure, and subject to relocation of the driveway per an Exhibit A and supplemental vegetation, it's also approved on the front of the structure.
Oh, and black roof,
And black roof.
yeah.
And then that addresses both sides and the board's concerns in one package. And if it goes to appeal, we represent the entirety of the case versus having the baby be split and have to do this again in another 3 or 6 months.
Well, I do like the motion,
Okay,
so I'm going to adopt that motion as my own.
thank you. On Ray's motion, we're all
here.
We're all
Yeah,
here,
we're all
yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Ray will work that up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tobias. Okay, next meeting is October 21st. It's a new business meeting. Please be aware, the following week, we have a couple things, just to get your minds wrapped around and ready. The People's Business next Tuesday, we will not be meeting the following 2 weeks.
What?
1 week is town meeting, and the next week is Flag Day. Is it Flag Day? President's Day? Veterans Day, I'm sorry. I know that I flubbed it up. So the point I'm trying to make is we're gonna have some time off, and I really would ask you guys please to come in next week and be ready to get through new business. Because when we get back after the break, we're gonna have a backlog out of the gate.
Probably,
And
yeah.
actually go and look at stuff that you're supposed to look at.
Yes, please preview, please do your due diligence. Okay, with that said, do get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then it will be Angus, Dale, myself, Ray, and Connie. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. I do want to add that language to the.
Yes, please.
Yeah.